Hi, you guys. So, in this very early clip, I want to talk to you guys about holding your pencil. So, in class, last class period at CAC, our last Wednesday meeting, I talked about holding your pencil properly. So, there's a few different ways of holding your pencil. So, we all know the way of holding our pencil, the tripod method. So, the tripod method gives you a little bit of control, feel more of a control. Look at the lines that you can make. You can make free range lines, straight lines, some S lines, C curves, whatever. Um, Only thing with holding your pencil this way is, guess what? You're limited to what your wrist can move or how your wrist moves. So this is the only motion you could get, and as far as you can get. So another way of using or holding your pencil is in between your thumb and your index finger. So this way, guess what? You're able to have more motion, and you're basically using your shoulder. You're drawing from your shoulder. So the lines that we tend to make are you can control. If you're heavy-handed like me, I can control my line weight a little bit better. But you can see how far I can go with that movement, and how big and wide I can move, and how loose my lines are. So these lines look very controlled. This looks more loose and a little bit more gestured, and it feels good when you're doing it. So remember, that one is in between your thumb and your index finger. And you can get fuzzy lines with it. So you can see I'm moving very fuzzy using the side of the pencil. I can get a straight, I can pivot my pinky and get a straight line. So I can do a lot of different things with this using the pencil. So this technique of holding your pencil is actually the proper way to hold your pencil when you draw. Another technique is using, this is my pencil, the end of my pencil. So using the end of your pencil is, I do it a lot. Actually, I'll talk to you guys a little bit more about what I do. But when I'm using the ends of my pencil, I'm trying to wait until this focus. Please focus in. Do it. But hopefully the camera starts to focus. But I'm using the ends of my pencil. It allows me to have lighter lines, a little bit more fluid lines. I can still use my shoulder when I draw, and it also still gives me a lot of movement. So some students like this method versus the in between the thumb and your index finger. Personally, what I do is I fluctuate, and I don't know if any of you guys pay attention to my videos and how I'm changing my pencil. So a lot of times I fluctuate between all of them. If I want to get more detail, I'll go with the tripod. When I start off, I'm either in between my thumb and my index finger, or I'm using the end of my pencil. So I tend to fluctuate between all of them. I was trained, of course, everybody's trained tripod method of holding their pencils, but when it came to art, that's when I was taught to hold my pencil differently. So I tend to change things out. Like if I want more details, I use tripod. If I want to be more loosey-goosey, I go between using the ends of my pencil or in between my thumb and my index finger. Another thing that I love doing sometimes, because I am a painter, so I am used to having long brushes for oil painting. So sometimes I'll add on an extender to allow me to get even longer pencil, and this looks very crazy. A lot of my students are like, what are you doing? But this also allows me to be a little bit more loose, fluid, even if I'm coming in and I want to get some hatching lines. It allows that. It allows me to be able to look at my drawing from a distance and get a line down. So I'm able to do that, like lean back and look and get lines down, as well as move around, and be able to be from a distance from my actual drawing. So as crazy as that sound, I actually love doing that. You don't have to do that at all. It's just something that I've done, that I know that it actually it allows me to be a little bit more free. And it's very interesting to see what I can get out of it drawing from a distance, because having that range does help. Like if you're a painter, having that long paintbrush helps because you're able to draw from a distance, or you're able to paint from a distance, because that's how we actually see a lot of these drawings and paintings from an actual distance. So I'm going to end this clip. It's a little blurry and I'm so sorry. My camera is really trying its best to focus. I don't know why. But I wanted to talk to my students and also my YouTube subscribers about how to hold your pencil properly. Yes. All right, guys, I'll see you in your next clip. All right. Everyone, this is Juri again, and in this video for CAC summer course, Drawing Fundamentals, we're going to be learning today linear structure. So in my past video, I talked a little bit about linear structure, about that the two elements of linear structure is outlines and inner corners. So far in our drawing class, we've already gone over gestures. We've also gone over contour drawings. So now we are in that spot to do linear structure. So with the linear structure, it's about getting 3D form. That's basically what it is. But we're using line to get there. We're not coming in with any shadows, any values. We're just using line. We also are using line weight variation, which I discussed last week in class as well. So when you think of linear structure, you want to think of, for sure, outlines. And you also want to think of inner corners. Then, of course, when we put these two together, I'm just going to put a plus sign, we get our cube. Which is 3D form. So remember, when you think of inner corners is also planar shapes that are just connecting together. So you have the top of the box, the side of the box, and the other side of the box. The other planar shift. Get my vocab together. So that's what we're thinking about. So we're thinking about outlines, inner corners, and we're also thinking about 3D forms. So in this video, I'm going to draw a gambling bottle. So this is a very interesting simplified bottle. So in the video, I'm definitely going to insert the photo of what I'm drawing. I am drawing from observation. I do have it lit that way I can see something with this bottle and see some edges, some lost edges and things of that nature. But that's what we're going to be doing. So in today's project and also for the class, we're going to be doing linear structure the whole class period on one object. So we'll do one object, we'll do another one object, and another one object. That way we could get the hang of doing linear structure and getting 3D form. It's a little bit more mechanical. It slows you completely down. You really got to look and pay attention. Another thing that we're going to be going over in class as well is we're going to be going over ellipses. So we're going to be going over ellipses in more of an intuitive way. One of the ways that we're going to go over ellipses is you can definitely do it just by drawing out a box. So if I have a line here and a line here, and I'm saying, okay, this is the width of my box that's here, and then I want to divide this box into half and divide the center in half. So I want to make sure that things are mirroring and about the same height. I'm going to take my 4 points, what I do is I gesture lightly because I need to get some lines down so I can see what I'm doing. So I gesture lightly. Still want to remember to maintain those 4 points. Once I have that, then I can come in. I'm not saying this is my exact line. I'm still using a supporting line. That's what I'm using right now. So I'm trying to connect these points. I don't want to run into pinch corners or a racetrack. So this kind of gives me an idea of an ellipse. Now I can kind of come in and just modify that line, or use a contour line, which we've discussed in past videos. I'm gonna bring this out just a little bit more. So now I have an ellipse. So what I'm saying, this is pretty accurate, pretty close. I know it could get better, but it's pretty close. What you don't want to do, so this is a do. Yes, you want to do this. What you don't want to do is you don't want to come in with a more racetrack type shape. So this will be the racetrack shape you don't want to run into, where you're coming in with straight lines, and then you're curving. Straight line, and then you're curving. So this is an ellipse don't. You also don't want to pinch corners. So I'm gonna come in with another gesture. And pinch corners are this. Where you're pinching the corner, and then you're coming down, coming around, and then you got these very sharp pinched corners. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to pinch your corners. And I'm not even sure if I did that. I'm so used to not doing it, so I'm trying to show a don't, but you don't want to do this. You don't want to do pinch corners. You want to get your ellipse closer to what it looks like here, and that's what's important. So we will go over this in my lecture. So this is the one thing that you want to think about. Okay, my outlines, my inner corners, getting 3D form, ellipses. You also want to pay attention to, even when we get there into your ellipses, you want to pay attention to your line weight variation. What's closer to us is going to be a lot darker. How it wraps around, make it a little bit lighter, because that's what you're pushing and pulling with. So I will go over another thing when it comes to ellipses, because this is one way of doing ellipses in an intuitive way. Another way to do ellipses is using perspective. So if I came in with a horizon line that's here, let's say this is my vanishing point. So we got horizon line, HL, vanishing point, that's here. And then I want to come in and I'm saying, okay, this is the width of my box for my ellipse. Then I want to connect my corners, because with 1 point perspective, basically everything is parallel to the picture plane. So although we're just using one plane, we're starting with one bottom plane, this line is parallel to our picture plane. So I'm going to say, okay, this is how wide for right now. That's how wide I want this ellipse to be. Then I can come in with an X, so connecting one corner to the next corner. That gives me my center line, and we're going to need that center line. Once I have that center line there, then I can get my major and minor axis is in. Then we have our, once again, our 4 points. 2, 3, 4. Once again, I can come in and I can gesture in my ellipse. I like gesturing it in because it gives me an idea. I can pull out lines when I need to. I'm coming in with a supporting line. So when I talk about supporting lines or even like an organizational line, it's not really a gestured type line, if that makes sense. It's a line that supports the line that you need, that you're saying, okay, this is the right line, this is the correct line. So this is what is supported. That's what it supports. So it's a supporting line. So now when we come in, you kind of can see. So this gives us our ellipse. I can kind of go back over and I can darken it just a bit because I'm saying, all right, this is the line that I want. I'm gonna try and be a little bit more confident with my lines. So now we have that ellipse in. So if I wanted to make my ellipse a little bit more flatter, like here, then that means that when I come in with my line and then my vanishing point, say it's here, and first you can draw this in, draw that in on the side. I can just make this a little bit more flatter, which here is a lot more wider. Come in with my X. That gives me the center. So this is what I'm looking for at this point. 1, 2. This point again. And then I'm going to gesture. Gesture in. Then I'm going to, I don't want pinch corners. And with pinch corners, pretty much you want to make sure you're turning away from that point. You don't want to have pinched corners. So we're going to turn to this point, turn away as fast as we can, round out, turn. There you go. So that kind of gives you an idea of how you can, a couple of different ways of doing ellipses. Another thing with ellipses that I am going to talk about in class is the ellipses. When you have your horizon line up here, the closer the ellipse gets to your horizon line, the flatter that ellipse is going to be. The further away from the horizon line, the more open that ellipse is going to be. So that gives you kind of an idea. Most students, when we're drawing in class, I tend to use a more intuitive ellipse that's here. And I just make sure I keep in mind the rules of ellipses and just make sure, okay, if I have an ellipse that's farther away from my eye level, then that means my bottom ellipse is going to be bigger. If I have an ellipse that's closer to my eye level, that means that ellipse is going to be a little bit more flatter. So I do try and keep some of those rules in mind. But you can definitely use the perspective way, because that's the perspective way is going to get you a more true, a more legit ellipse. Of course, this way, this is good for just drawing and getting it down really quick, and you don't have to deal with horizon lines and vanishing points. But that's a way to go about it. So with that being said, the one thing I did not talk about is what's on the agenda today for this video. So in this video, we're going to be going over linear structure. We also going to be going over proportion boxes. We're going to be going over proportions. We're going to be going over sighting and measuring. We're also going to go over, which we just did, ellipses. Got that out the way early. And then also today, you're going to be needing white drawing paper. So this is my white drawing paper that's here. Hopefully you can see it. You're also going to need a Prismacolor erase pencil. So I love the Prismacolor Kohl Erase Pencil because number one, it allows you to get really, really light lines, really, really dark lines. The glide feels so good on the paper. Also, you got a nice little eraser. You can erase things out. So if you draw light enough and you make a mistake, you can erase it out really well. It's just a really, really cool pencil. I love it to death. Most of my students, once they try it, they pretty much stick to it. They don't move to another pencil, and sometimes they don't go back to their graphite pencil. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I haven't been in graphite for a while, but because I really, really love these pencils. Another thing that you're going to need is a skewer. We're definitely going to be using this in class, and you will see me use it even in this video as well. Alright, you guys, so I would definitely see you in the next clip. I'm going to get a nice clean sheet of paper so I can get everything prepared. So I'll see you in the next clip. So in the last clip, we went over ellipses. We also went over the terms for linear structure, that is pretty much outlines and inner corners. So in this clip, I'm going to start with the drawing to just kind of get an idea for what we're going to do. I'm going to have to insert some pictures so you kind of have an understanding of what I am going to talk about into this clip. So what we're going over is just the beginning, stages, and starts of a linear structure drawing. So remember, we're trying to get 3D form. We're trying to get the drawing close to what we're seeing. We're trying to get the illusion that is real onto a sheet of paper. So that takes time. That means that we have to start with a proportion box, get the proportions down as close to what we're seeing it. We're going to be using sighting and measuring, and that's something that's a little different as well. So the first thing that I want to do in this drawing is I want to get down a proportion box. So what I'm going to be doing is I have to get down its width and its height. In drawing, to draw a little bit more intuitive, we're not going to be dealing with a 3D proportion box, which is basically width, height, and also depth. So I did do a linear structure video in the past, but the video is very blurry, but the content is right. So I'm happy that I'm redoing this video. That way we can get a clear vision of what linear structure is and have a really good video that has the visual and the good content that goes with it. Alright, so the first thing that I want to do when I'm getting width and height, and this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the width of the object, as well as I'm looking for the height of the object. So I have to come in and I have to use my skewer. You can use your pencil. Sometimes I get lazy and use my pencil, but you need to use your skewer. I want to come in and I want to measure the width of the object that I'm seeing. So how I do this is I have to lock my arm and place my elbow. And some of you guys, I talked to you guys about this in class. I need to close one eye. And I also need to measure the bottom of my bottle. So what I'm trying to get is the width of my bottle. So once I have that, I can place that down here. Well, actually, I'm not going to do it right now. I'm going to get the height in. So now that I got the idea for my width, I'm going to turn my skewer, because my skewer right now is horizontal. I'm going to turn it vertical. And I'm going to measure that width into my height. So it goes into my height 1, 2. So 2 times. So basically what I'm saying is, okay, this is my width. This measurement here goes vertically for my height. 1, 2. So this is the width of my bottle, this is the height of my bottle. So that's what I want to get down. So we need to stick to this ratio, and the ratio is 1 to 2. So your ratio could be 1 to 3, or 1 to 2.5, or 1 to 1 1/4. Whatever your ratio is, you want to make sure you stay true to that. So once you get your ratio down, guess what? Your object can be as big as you want it to be, long as you stay true to this ratio. So I'm gonna say, all right, this is if I can get my line straight. This is the width of my object. So I'm going to use my skewer. I'm going to mark it down. So that means this is going to go in 1 and 2. So you guys, this is my proportion box. So now that I have this proportion box in, the next thing, so this is step 1. The next thing I want to do is I want to draw a center line. I want to draw a center line, but I want to make sure that my center line is in the center and that I'm mirroring both sides. Like they should be about even. Yes, I have multiple lines going. I'm okay with the multiple lines. I know I'm not making straight lines. So once I have that in, now I have a center line. So sometimes you can start like a printer from the top to bottom. Normally for me, when it comes to bottles, I tend to start from bottom up, and that's because I really want to get in that ellipse. Another thing that I want to do, because when I'm looking at my my bottle, I am seeing that this bottle is wide, but it also tapers at the top. So I kind of want to get in a measurement for that. So when I'm measuring that, I want to go back to my original measurement, that width, because that's the smallest measurement. So I'm going to go back to this one, and once again, I'm going to lock my arm, close one eye, and then I want to measure. I'm going to turn my skewer, because my skewer is horizontal right now. I'm going to turn it vertical. My thumb is at the bottom of the bottle, and I'm going to count 1, 2. So it's about, I would say maybe a third of the way. 2. I'm gonna go about halfway. So I'm gonna say this is about halfway. Another thing with these proportion boxes, it's okay to change things. If you feel like your first thought was here, but then you start drawing and you need to change it, allow that. Allow your drawing to stay as light as possible before you start to really put things down, because you want to get the drawing down first, the best that you can, and then you can start with kind of like that line weight variation to play with it. So if I need to move this line, I'm going to keep it light, but I'm going to also leave my drawing open for change, because it may not be in the right spot as of right now. But I think I'm pretty close, because I want to make sure that that I have a little bit of space in between, as well as I want to make sure I have enough space for my ellipses and things that I am seeing, and also the top of that bottle. So I want to start at the bottom, and I'm going to start with my ellipses. So I remember that this ellipse is actually going to be quite big because it's at the bottom. And then my ellipse that's at the top is going to be a lot more flatter than this one. So once again, I want to make sure that my boxes are even. Right now I'm kind of seeing them a little uneven. So this box needs to be even, 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 even. We want to mark our 4 points. I'm going to gesture in my ellipse. Allow this gesture to be light. Alright, so once I kind of have a few lines in, now I want to come in with a supporting line. I also want to make sure that these lines are curving away. Don't want to get pinch corners. I also don't want to have too much of a straight because all of this has to curve. Curving away as fast as possible. Curving away as fast as possible. Curving at these points. I do not want to have any pinched corners or erased track. So now that I got that down, I got the bottom of my bottle down. So now I want to think of my bottle. So the one thing that I'm thinking about the bottom is that I see on the bottle that the bottle has curved shoulders. So sometimes I love this when I see my students do this. Sometimes you can definitely use a sphere in the center. Because when we're thinking about drawing, you guys, you want to think about those simple geometric shapes like a sphere, a cylinder, a cone, a cube, because those symbols in our brain are easy to draw. So you take those symbols and you apply it to what you're seeing. So right now I'm just drawing a sphere kind of in the center of where my bottle is, because I know that this bottle has curved shoulders before it comes down, and that's what I'm trying to get. It's those curved shoulders that's there. So another thing that I'm looking at, and remember I talked about this, so I'm looking at my bottle, and I'm looking at my drawing, and I personally feel like my bottle needs to be a little bit taller than what I'm seeing. And I also feel like, because this is where my initial idea was for where I see the neck of the bottle, I kind of want to move this up because I feel like it's probably about right here. So this is where I'm saying allow changes to happen, because that's what these linear structure drawings are about. It kind of forces you to move slow and really see what you're looking at. So allow things to change. Stay light as much as possible. So I'm still staying in a very gesture stage when I'm drawing in this box. So now that I kind of got an idea for where these shoulders are going to be, I need to define my center line just a little bit more. What I want to do is I want to measure how wide the neck of this bottle is. So it's not really half of my original measurement with my width of my bottle, because you always want to start back with your first measurement. So it's not about half, it's probably a third of the way. So if I say this is about half, that's about right here. Then I'm saying, okay, it's about a third. I don't think it's a half all the way. I don't even think it's this wide. I think it kind of comes in just a little bit more. What I do on this side, I need to do on this side. I think it's about right there. I want to bring it in too. I'm gonna bring it in just a little bit. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at my drawing, and I'm also looking at what I'm drawing from observation, because I really want to make sure, am I really seeing the neck this wide or wider or thinner? Those are the questions that I'm asking myself, is how wide do I really see this neck? And a way that I'm doing is I'm looking at this, I'm also looking at my observation, and I'm asking myself, do I see it that wide? And I do. I see it close to this wide than the original measurement that I had. So you have to really rely on what you're seeing and really slow down and ask yourself those questions. When you compare your drawing to what you're actually seeing, that helps you correct your actual drawing. And that's the whole point. Like, I want to make sure I'm correcting and I got things right. So right now I'm just going to gesture that in. So I'm saying this is the size of the neck that I'm seeing, and I'm gonna make sure I bring it down just a little bit more. So I'm getting a little bit of an idea for the top of my bottle cap. So I'm using this line and I'm saying, okay, how far do I see where that bottle cap ends? And I say about right there. And I'm comparing my drawing to what I'm seeing. Same thing on this side. I want to make sure things are mirroring. What's happening on one side needs to happen on the other. So right now, I have it very gestured in, and I'm looking at it, and I'm comparing. I'm looking at this neck again, and I'm like, okay, I think this neck needs to come in just a little bit more. I think that's very close to what I'm seeing. Also know there's these curved shoulders that kind of comes down. I'm going to use straight line segments. For right now. So I'm just using a little bit more of a supporting line. And I'm using them in a straight line segment. So I'm looking at this negative shape that's here. And I want to make sure I'm mirroring this negative shape on this side. So I'm going to come down. I can always kind of use some points. I'm drawing a line so I can see this point and this point here. Use a plumb line. I'm just going to draw a plumb line up just to make sure I'm in the right spots. Looking at this negative shape, break it down just a bit. sure I get this negative shape in and it's mirroring. And draw another line here. Make sure I'm hitting some points. So we see this negative shape. So I've broken down into two shapes, and then this negative shape. Same thing here. Kind of see these 2 points that are here, not the point that's there. This is our big negative shape. So that's allowing me to kind of get these curved shoulders. So right now you're probably saying, Dree, they're not curved. They're not. So what we're going to do is once we get things where we need it to be, then we're going to come in and curve those corners. So now what I'm going to do is, of course, we're going to draw our line down. Draw our line down. Connect to these sides. So we have that so far. Another thing that I'm looking at, and I know I done got some of this down, although I measured it the first time, I still kind of feel like my bottle is too short and not long enough. And let me double check that measurement again. I feel like the drawing is right, but I just feel like the proportion may not be 100% right. So I'm going back to my first measurement, which is my width. And that's going to divide into the height. 1, 2. So I'm seeing it at 2. So what I could do, I feel like it should be longer and a little bit more narrow. I'm trying to see where I'm at with this. So what I could do is I can bring everything up just a little bit more. So I'm going to get my measurements. So this is once again, allow your drawing to change. It's fine if it's changing. Because I really, really want to get it close to what I'm seeing. So once again, I'm seeing this bottle a lot taller than when I have it. So if I'm seeing that, I really want to stay true to what my eyes are seeing, and just be more accurate with that. So I'm going to bring this up a little bit more. And if I go outside of my proportion box, that's okay. Because it's something that the proportion box is just there to help you get something down and get you where you need to go. So I'm going to come up. I do feel like it needs to be a little bit taller than what I'm seeing. I'm going to bring that sphere back in. I know my sphere is everywhere right now. Bring that sphere back in. So I want to get those rounded shoulders. Sphere back in. I got it a little bit taller as to what I'm seeing. Then I want to come in because I'm still saying this is my my center of my bottle. I already marked off my which I have a ghost of it, which is fine. Mark it off again. So this is where I'm saying the neck is. And make sure I'm mirroring. come in. Remember to come out just a little bit because this is kind of where I'm seeing the top. I'm looking at this part of the neck, this part of the top, making sure things are mirroring. I also want to look at how tall that bottle cap is. I'm seeing it about there. So I made my bottle a lot taller because I personally feel like it's a lot taller than what I'm actually seeing, and I just want to make sure I have that down. Also, I am seeing too that there's a little curve that's here, and I'll get that curve in a little bit better. It's like a tapered curve that I'm seeing. I'm seeing when I'm looking at the bottom. So now I want to come back in, get these shoulders back in place. So I'm going to use my supporting lines again, looking at my object. I can block out some points, draw a line over, draw another line over. Use a plumb line. I'm using a vertical plumb line to help me measure. What's happening on one side needs to happen on the other. So I'm looking at these spaces to make sure they're about right. So this point and that point. And then I'm looking at this point. And I also want to see it comes about right here. And there's kind of like this little small pivot or a small drop. Another point that I'm looking at. So this kind of allows me to gotta get that curve in without having to curve the line. Because sometimes, although I love curved lines, but I don't normally start with curved lines because curved lines, for me, you can think, oh, it's accurate, and then 9 times out of 10 it may not be accurate. Sometimes using straight lines will allow you to get a more accurate curve, if that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense to me, and it helps me out because I'm always like, you know what, I'd rather use a straight line because I could always curve that line later, and it would make sense. So right now we kind of got those curved shoulders in. I have the neck in. I have the top in. So I'm not gonna worry about my my label. I'm just not going. It's not important right now. But I do want to get in some more of these ellipses. So remember, this ellipse is going to be a lot bigger because we're technically looking down at it. So the ellipses that are up here, because there's an ellipse that's here, is going to be a lot flatter, a little bit wider, and then it's going to get flatter as we move up to the top as well. So I can kind of come in. I'm going to use the same technique. Get my 4 points in. Gonna come in with a gesture. Okay. Then I'm going to come in. I'm going to make sure I'm rounding so I don't get pinched corners. And then I want to quickly move away. Connect, quickly automatically move away. The line's going over here. Oh, a lot of lines. Alright, and then light, dark. I'll lighten these lines up just a bit. I already got my supporting line in, so I'm good with that. Sometimes it's okay to leave a ghost for a line. Basically, when you hear ghost, you're leaving a trace of that line that's there, and it's okay. Especially in like the linear structure stage, it's okay because your drawing is constantly changing and moving. So we got it in. So like, oh, look, there's a little crooked. So I have that ellipse in. Let's get the neck in. This neck is also going to curve. I want to lighten this up just a bit because technically we don't see this part of the ellipse. We only see the front part. Now that I have that in, so these are some things that kind of moves a little bit quicker, but not really. Because once you have one kind of ellipse in, you can kind of trace, get an idea of what's happening here if you need to. I'm just going to leave it light, without having to fully draw that ellipse. But I'm going to leave it light because what's happening now is I need to get the ellipse for the bottom of this top, this cap. So I need to flatten my ellipse a little bit more. I want to make sure I have a center line. Make sure my four parts are pretty as even as I can get it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Gesture. These supporting lines. Remember, I want to move away, connect curves, connect and curve, round out, round out, round out. So now you can see that I have my bottle cap ellipse in. So I still want to stay true to the height. This. Top of it is going to be another flat ellipse. So here's one point, another point, another point, another point. Gesture in that ellipse, using some gesture lines just so we can see it. And come in. I want to come in and I want to connect using my supporting lines. I want to round and curve, round, start to curve, quite heavy for no reason. Then I have the top of it. So I'm gonna try to adjust my camera just a bit. And right there at the top. Alright. Oh. Come on, camera. There we go. We're working on it. We're getting there. Okay. So now, as you can see, I have my bottle drawn in. I'm a little confident with the size. I kind of feel like just looking at it, it could be a little bit thinner. But this gives you an idea of linear structure, and it gives you an idea of just drawing and really taking your time out and really getting the full essence, the outlines, the inner corners. And with a bottle, is not a lot of inner corners that are happening. You know, you're mainly dealing with a lot of ellipses that are connecting together, that's describing the bottle. So now that we have this in, now I can kind of come in and I can start to really get in some of these softer and harder edges, some darker lines in. See that I'm coming back in and I'm darkening the lines, curving out those lines that are straight. Gets a little bit darker down here, and it also rounds out. Let this line be a little bit fuzzy. Come in a little dark on this side. I'm gonna allow some of this to stay fuzzy, but I do want it to be a little bit darker. I am saying this is where the table ground meets the bottle. But I also want to think about how it wraps around as well. Same thing on this side. You can get just a little bit darker. I want this to round out. So having it on one side, I need to have it on the other. I see some thinner lines, or lighter lines, that's what I meant to say. A little bit of softer rounding. Move down. This line still gets a little dark. I kind of want a little bit of a fuzzier line here. More firm line. That's there. So remember, with the inside of the lips, I'm going to leave it light because technically we don't see this. This I can come in, because I do see it, a little bit darker here. I'm going to let it get just a little bit, leave it kind of a little fuzzy there. And then I'm just going to kind of leave this about a little of an implied line, a little bit fuzzy as well. This is definitely going to be a lot darker. Let it get dark here, a little fuzzy there. You want this line to be a little dark. Just want to fuzz out some areas. this be just a little bit fuzzy back here. All right, guys. So as of right now, this is my one object linear structure. So in this drawing, we went over proportion box. Remember, we started with our proportion box. And remember, sometimes with your proportion box, you have to adjust it. I always tell my students, you want to trust your eyes. You want to trust what you're actually seeing. And you want to stay true to that. So if you get down your proportion box, and you're like, you know what, as you can see in my drawing, if you're like, you know what, this is not right, go back into it and adjust it. If you need to make it higher, if you need to make it shorter, it's there for that adjustment. That framework is just there to get the drawing down, get something down, because you got to get something down in order to correct it. Once you get something down, then you can say, okay, I need to make this wider, I need to make this thinner, taller. Allow your drawing to go through those changes. Always stay light. Don't ever go in with a heavy hand, because you just never know if you need to change something. And if you don't change it, you're just kind of like going over and you're like, I probably should have corrected it. You want to correct it as early as possible, so when you get into those last stages of the drawing, you can easily be changed and correct. So we went over proportions, proportion box. We did a little siding and measuring. I would give you guys more of a visual. I also insert a little video if I can, but I would definitely do that way you kind of get an idea. We also went over ellipses, so our proportion box, ellipses, linear structure. Remember, mainly with a bottle, you're kind of getting in those ellipses and you're connecting things together with those ellipses as well. Once again, the siding and the measurements we went over. So this is what we're going to be doing in class. We're going to take one item. We're going to be practicing linear structure. We're going to try our best to get 3D form as much as possible. We're going to be dealing with plumb lines, as you can see here, that I was pulling down a vertical line. We're definitely going to be using our center line. If we need to have points or add points, we could do the points as well. We're going to be utilizing all of these things to get to a more accurate, more 3D model of a drawing. So you guys, I hope this helps. It's a good practice, and I normally keep my students in the linear structure mode for a very long time, because I really want you guys to learn how to draw with just using that line. That's all linear structure is. It's just a line drawing, and also practicing your line weight variation, practicing siding and measuring, practicing proportion and proportion boxes, ellipses, and just doing that in a very linear way. It's very important. So hopefully this helped, and I am so thankful for anybody that watch any of my videos, and I hope that it helps. So definitely, if you like what you're seeing, subscribe. If you like it, press the like button if you want to, my YouTubers. And for the class, I would definitely see you guys on Wednesday. So I just want to say thank you. This is a linear structure video that's a lot more clear than my last one. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you guys later. Yay! Art. Bye, guys.